Hey everybody, Ron Bielefeld, Whistling Wings Photography. I'm here in Montana, pre-scouting or scouting for my tour that comes up in a couple days here. Be out here for a week. And this video is not about the tour, but about trying to do an entire week of shooting birds, mammals, whatever we find, with just two lenses, the Canon 100 to 500 RF and the Canon 800 f11 RF. It's going to be the first major tour I've done without my 600 f4. Now I've got the 1.4 times teleconverter for these two lenses as well, so we're going to see how it goes. So if you're interested in seeing how it turned out, stay tuned. Well, I'm back from my Montana tour, and even though they're having a 100-year drought out there, we did really well. 90 species of birds, some mammals, fewer mammals. It was really hot, so a lot of the moose and elk had moved up to higher elevations. I mean, it was 85, 87 degrees during the day a couple days. Did frost one night, so we got down into the 28 degree range, something like that. Mostly in the 40s at night, up into the about 80, 75 to 80 during the day. So anyway, we did do pretty well, and as I alluded to in the beginning of this video, I shot with just the 100 to 500 RF and the 800 f11 RF on my two R5s. And I think it turned out pretty well. Now, it was mostly sunny. We had really good light most of the days, but we did start out early in the mornings, shot late in the evenings, so it wasn't always bright light. And I will say that the way technology has gone with cameras and lenses, we are at a point where you can shoot something that's f7.1, f9, f10, even f11, like that 800 millimeter, and compensate with higher ISOs to a certain extent, but also you can shoot much slower shutter speeds on a lot of the perch birds, because the IS and IBIS, in-body image stabilization, combined with the IS in the lens, the image stabilizer in the lens, you can shoot at very slow shutter speeds and still get really sharp results. That combined with the higher ISOs, you can shoot these slower lenses, let's say, and still do really, really well. The image quality of the 100 to 500 alone and with the 1.4 is really, really good, and the 800 f11 continues to really surprise me with the quality of imagery you can get from this lens, and you're going to see that shortly. I'm going to show a bunch of pictures here that I took of 40 plus species of birds and mammals while we were out there this week in Montana, and I will also put a link to a gallery of the images in the description of this video so you can take a closer look. If I have time, I'm so backed up with stuff since I was gone for over 10 days to do. I will label which ones were the 800 f11 and which ones were the 100 to 500. Most of the 100 to 500 images were taken with the 1.4 times teleconverter attached, so somewhere between 400 and 700 millimeters at f10 when you were at 700 millimeters, and of course the 800s and f11. I will try to label those images, but I may not get around to it. I may need to just put this video up and let her rip. But in the end, it's the end product. It's the end product that you get from your photography, and which lens was which. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much if all of them look really, really nice. And to me, I think they look really, really nice. There were some struggles with autofocus here and there, but it really wasn't any different between the 100 to 500 and the 800 f11. It was just very challenging situation sometimes, but I'll tell you, the 3-button autofocus setup that I use now, if you want to look at my latest video on shooting birds and birds in flight with the R5 and how I have my autofocus back button set up, the autofocus point select button I have to spot, that was really critical on this tour, because we're shooting in a lot of bushes and branches and things like that on small birds like warblers. So that was critical, and it worked really, really well for the most part. I can't say I missed any opportunities completely, no matter which lens I was using. So overall, I'm really happy with how it went. It was really liberating in a way too, in the sense that I wasn't lugging around my 600 f4 Mark II, which is like 8 pounds. It was liberating because I could carry the 800 f11 and the 100 to 500 with the 1.4 at the same time, switch back and forth. I could hold them up forever. I could basically do what I wanted when I wanted to. That 600 f4, and I don't really, even the Mark III, which is 2 pounds lighter, it's still big. It's still big and bulky and gets in the way. We do a lot of driving around, we do a lot of hiking. And so it was really liberating to have 2 smaller, much lighter lenses and still be able to get the reach that I needed when I needed it. And so I'm really happy. Am I going to not shoot a 600 f4 anymore? No, I don't think so, but I'll tell you, I'm probably going to use it a lot less often than I have in the past, unless something comes up and I start not having success. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and run through a bunch of images, and you can see how I did with the 100 to 500 and the 800 f11. And at the end of all the images, I will come back on and we'll wrap this up with a little more discussion. And so here we go. Okay, so there's a sample of some photos and a few videos. The videos really to show how stable handheld 700 millimeters, 800 millimeters can be with the R5, 800 f11, the 100 to 500 RF with a 1.4 times teleconverter on it. And you know, it was windy and you're not like sitting in a chair, nice and comfy. It wasn't on a tripod. I was laying down or sitting down on the ground in the grass, so it can do a pretty good job. Don't you know, look at my grading of the videos as anything. I just threw them in there without much attention to going through and post-processing them. But you can see what can be done with these two lenses, and overall I think the trip turned out pretty well using those two lenses. I would have liked to have had some more speed, 600 f4 at times, and you can see I'm gonna put a link to a gallery in the description and you can go and see the images. The images are sharpened a bit, just the birds, but no noise reduction really applied at all, so you can see what the ISOs are doing pretty well there. Some of them are bigger crops than others. You'll be able to tell some of that when it's going on as well. You can hit the info little icon and it'll bring up all of the information for each image, so you can see which ones were shot with the 100 to 500, with the 800 f11, with the 100 to 500 with the teleconverter. I think even a couple of them were shot with the 800 f11 with the 1.4 times teleconverter. The only teleconverter I used was the 1.4 times. I didn't mess with the 2 times. So with that, I'm going to end this video, and until next time, get out there. I hope you have great light, get some great images, and I'll see you soon.